Does anybody else remember Duck Dynasty? Man, I miss that show. There was a time where we could turn on the tube and see ourselves represented by the Robertson clan. They could be coarse, unpredictable, and they certainly weren't afraid to speak their minds. But they never lost sight of their true values: family, loyalty, living off the land, and kicking butt. And the backbone of that show was something you might not expect: the women. Behind every man was a strong woman who could hold down the fort. So, what's been up with the ladies of Duck Dynasty ever since the show went off the air? A lot, as it turns out, and the post-TV days haven't exactly been a holiday on the beach for these gals. They've had to deal with all of the following: mystery babies, violent attacks, and honest-to-God assassination attempts. Seriously, the last few years have been crazier than anything that ever happened on Duck Dynasty. But before we dive in, remember to give this video a thumbs up to show support. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Are you ready? Well, let's go hunt for some answers as we find out.
What happened?
K. Robertson. Phil Robertson, of course, is known as the patriarch of the sprawling Duck Dynasty clan. But what is a patriarch without a matriarch? And that's where Kay comes in. Whenever Phil would stir up some trouble, somebody had to be there to clean it up. When the media came for Phil after his outspoken comments years ago, Kay was there to keep the family steadfast behind their leader. But now, years after we've said goodbye to Duck Dynasty, what the heck is Kay up to? Is she still married to Phil? Is she still involved in the family business? Well, sadly, her life has been interrupted by horrific violence. Miss K has had a long, busy life, so it's no surprise that she claims to be retired. However, retired clearly means something different when you're a Robertson. Miss K continues to operate her restaurant, Miss K's Sweets and Eats, where she offers the pies she was famous for on Duck Dynasty, as well as other delectable foods. But Miss K's pseudo-retirement has not been as peaceful as she would have liked. In 2021, she suffered a vicious, violent attack, and her injuries were substantial. She lost a large chunk of her lip and had to be put on a liquid diet for some time. But who could have done such a wretched thing? Well, believe it or not, it was Miss K's dog, Bobo. From the scale of the injury, you might expect that the pooch in question was a Rottweiler or a pit bull, but it turns out it was just a wee little guy. Fortunately, Miss K has since pulled through and made a full recovery. But in the future, she might need to invest in a guard dog for her guard dog, Corey Robertson. Just as Miss K supported her husband, Phil, Corey Robertson became beloved by Americans for how well she supported her husband, Willie, the de facto heir to the Duck Dynasty, and in some ways, the star of the show. Corey raised Willie's 5 children, a big job in itself, while also running tons of operations for the Robertson clan. So, where is Corey today? Well, shockingly, she too has been stunned by a random, violent attack. Since Duck Dynasty went off the air, Corey Robertson has decidedly not retired. In fact, she has been busier than just about everybody, working behind the scenes to keep the family's brand running, along with running all the licensing and brand operations for the Robertsons. Corey has also discovered a literacy side to her. She released a parenting book called Strong and Kind: Raising Kids of Character. Something she certainly has expertise in, considering how well her kids have turned out. Speaking of her kids, Corey collaborates with her daughter Sadie and writes a blog on Sadie's website. But although Corey mostly minds her own business while keeping her nose to the grind, there are apparently some people who have a big problem with what she's doing, big enough to want to end her life. That's right, Corey and her family were recently the victims of an attempted assassination. Members of the family were outside, going about their daily business. Only Corey, Sadie, and some of the kids were there though. And something didn't feel right to Corey, so the family went inside, and immediately afterwards, somebody drove by the property and fired an onslaught of bullets towards the house. One shot flew through the window of the home, and it was only by God's grace that nobody was hit. and that nobody was outside at the time of the shooting. The police did arrest a man in connection with the incident, but he has not yet been sentenced. So we hope that Corey and her family get some kind of closure from this horrific incident. Missy Robertson. Jace Robertson, of course, is the troublemaker of the Robertson clan, which means he needs somebody to clean up after his hijinks, and that is Missy. She has raised his 4 children, Reed, Cole, Karina, and Mia. And she's soon to be a grandmother to Reed's kid. So what has she been up to since the camera shut off? Well, it turns out that while Missy and Jace thought they were through raising babies, 4 is certainly enough for a lifetime, God wasn't quite done with them. But this baby didn't come to them exactly how you'd expect. Like the other women in the Robertson clan, Missy was never quite able to sit still for very long. She's been a prolific entrepreneur in the ensuing years. She runs a jewelry line, a bed and breakfast, and a venue for events. She's also written a series of camo-themed princess books for her daughter Mia. So what the heck happened? The baby was not hers. Well, Missy got a call from a woman she knew from church. This woman had a friend who recently had a baby, but she was now in jail related to addiction-related crimes. There was no one to take the baby in, and it was on its way to a life of care by the state. So Missy and Jace stepped in and offered to care for the child. It's unclear how long the baby will be in their care, but I, for one, think they are better off with the Robertsons. Just growing the Duck Dynasty. Sadie Robertson. Last but certainly not least is Sadie Robertson. Sadie was just a young girl when Duck Dynasty was on the air. Viewers first got to know her as a sassy sidekick, and then they watched her grow up in front of their eyes. Over the years, Willie and Corey raised a classy, beautiful young woman. But now that the show is over, a lot of things have changed. So, is Sadie still an admirable and beautiful young woman? In the last few years, Sadie has been a little ball of energy. She was first runner-up on Dancing with the Stars. Some fans do believe she was robbed. She's also been incredibly involved in her ministry work. She's written several books about her Christian faith and done an insane amount of charity work. Sadie has also been involved in film, including God's Not Dead 2. But all of these accomplishments are nothing compared to the most recent developments in her life. In 2019, she was married, and in May of 2021, the couple welcomed their first daughter named Honey, and they recently announced a second child is on the way. It seems the Duck Dynasty women are doing mighty fine. The Robertsons, always chaotic, messy, and sometimes hard to follow. But when you have a big family who follows American values, that's what you sign up for. Duck Dynasty wasn't just an awesome show because it focused on awesome things like hunting, shooting, and fishing. The real heart of the show was the people, the family, both the men and the women. All right, enough of me, now it's your turn. Who was your favorite member of the Robertson family? Do you think the show should come back on the air? Get in the comments and tell us all things Duck Dynasty. But before you fly the coop, please give this video a thumbs up if you don't mind, it really helps. Subscribe to our channel and come back often so we can keep telling you what happened.